So, welcome to another session of Vedic Culture and Knowledge. Today we're going to do an interview with Bhakti Vasudeva Swami, who's visiting us. Actually, he's staying here in New York for quite some time. And we're going to find out a little bit about his history, how he came to Krishna consciousness, how he got involved and interested in Vedic culture and knowledge, and also how he wound up coming to the United States and some of the activities that he's currently engaged in. So Bhakti Vasudeva Swami has been with us in the spiritual movement since 1984. And he originally came from Nigeria. So I want to turn this over to him and have him tell us a little bit about his origins and how he came to Krishna consciousness. So Bhakti Vasudeva Swami, I'll turn it over to you. Please enlighten us.
Thank you very much. I was born in this very lifetime. I was born in Nigeria, and I met the devotees of the Krishna movement in December 2003. And that same month, I traced their temple after getting some books. After reading the books, I was very much interested in knowing further about the teachings of the Vedic culture, especially expounded by ISKCON founder Chaya, H.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. So that was basically when I met the devotees. And then in 2004, in 1983, I'm sorry. In 1983, I met the devotees in Port Harcourt, in Nigeria, and then I got some books from them, and then later I traced them to the temple, and then in 1984, I started going to the temple more regularly, and that same year, actually, became a full-time priest. I lived in a temple. So that's basically how I joined the movement. I met the devotees through their activities on the streets in terms of book distribution.
What city in Nigeria are you actually from originally?
That was in Port Harcourt.
Okay, Port Harcourt. Okay. So you went to the temple. Was it in Lagos or Port Harcourt?
That was in Port Harcourt. I went to Port Harcourt originally.
And you eventually met Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, I met Bhakti Tirtha Swami after I'd lived in a temple for a couple of months, and then Bhakti Tirtha Swami came. His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami came, and so at that time I was already going out with some other devotees on regular Sankirtan. And so when we came back from Sankirtan, we were told by the temple president that Maharaj has come and he wanted to meet with us. And so my first encounter with him was when we came back from Sankirtan, and then we had a meeting with him that day. So he was basically wanting to know our challenges as we were out there distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. That was interesting because traditionally I have had the experience of working with, high-profile personnel, and a number of people, they don't have that type of caring mindset to try to know about the challenges in the execution of your duty. But he was interested in knowing that, and so we had exchanges with him, and I was really intrigued by his concern and his care about the devotees as we go out to be able to help in distributing Lord Chaitanya's message.
Yeah, so it seems like Bhakti Tirtha Swami was actually not just people in Africa. He was also very dear to people here in America, and he spent a good deal of time in New Vrindavan and Gita Nagari and other communities that we have here, some farm communities. And of course, he left this world. What year was that actually?
2005.
2005.
In June.
So here's, I just wanted to point this out, that there's a nice book written about him called Black Lotus. His regular name was John Favors. And this book was written by Satyaraj, who's also known as Stephen Rosen, and you can find this book on Amazon and other booksellers. And this is a story of his life, how Bhakti Tirtha was originally involved in Black Panthers and a bunch of other things, and met, I think, many important leaders, and then he became one of the GBC, or one of the main leaders in the ISKCON, or Hare Krishna movement. And of course, in 2005, due to melanoma cancer, he left the world. So his life touched many of us. Maybe you can talk a little bit about your original preaching when you spent time with him and you were in West Africa.
Yeah. In West Africa, he personally instructed me to go to preach to the professors. And that was something very daring, very challenging. Because to go to talk to professors, you need to have something like a PhD to be able to, talk to them, and so that they could hear you. He gave that order that, I should do something that is difficult to do, but that's what he wanted me to do. So I started with, publishing, publishing in academic journals. So that was something, again, very intriguing. So when I started publishing academic journals, again, I was integrating applied Vedic science and applied management and decision sciences in providing solutions to leadership, management, and social issues. And one of my very first publication in a multicultural journal was on rape.
A nice, friendly topic that is close to everyone's heart.
Rape, and what is the connection of rape with Krishna consciousness philosophy or Vaishnava philosophy? I said rape, and the sub-theme was sonic therapeutic intervention, sonic therapeutic approach. Sonic therapy basically means the repetition of transcendental sounds or transcendental names of the absolute truth of God. Call him Jehovah, Allah. We call him Krishna. So, because why I have to do this? Because in general, academics, they tend to shy away from religion. Those who are not special, those who don't have religion as a specialty, like you talk to political scientists or management, scientists, they don't want to hear about religion. And so what I did was to be able to, coin my own terminology. So instead of saying chanting basically, everybody knows that it has to do with, with religion. So when I use that terminology, that psychological terminology, therapy, I mean, the scholars, they embraced it. So when I had that work written, and very easily it was published in a journal. I remember when I submitted that paper to the journal editor, and we were waiting for them to give us a feedback, because when you submit a paper to a journal, they will have to review it and see whether it is something they will accept or reject. So I was waiting for their verdict, and so we waited for like over 2 months. We didn't hear from them. So I and Pritu is one of our young devotees. He now is a scientist in DC. We were all together. We were together preaching in Nigeria at that time. At that time, he was a young professor. He got his PhD when he was like 28 or so. So he was, myself and him we went to the office of this editor-in-chief of that journal. So I wanted to make some inquiries about, so I said, we want to know about, what is your verdict about my submission? So immediately the editor-in-chief, he said, oh, you are the guy from the Hare Krishna?
Right.
I said, excuse me, sir. I never mentioned about Hare Krishna in that paper. He said, I've read that philosophy. That is the Krishna philosophy. That is Prabhupada's teachings. I was shocked. And this is the head of department for classical studies in that federal university.
In what university?
In a federal university, University of Ibadan in Nigeria.
I see.
And that was, the University of Ibadan is like the Harvard University in the US here, okay? So you have all the top scholars are the ones you find there. And so when he mentioned that, and we were very pleasantly surprised, he said, I have published your work. I said, excuse me, sir, but traditionally you're supposed to send me a verdict, and then if I agree with the idea that you have to publish it, then you could go ahead and publish it. He said, no. I know that you want it to be published, so I have gone ahead and published it.
So he just published it without telling you about it.
So he was really interested in that work, and so we started with that. And then we moved on very quickly. In 3 years, I had over 20 publications in peer-reviewed academic journals. And that was just strange. It got to the point that even the late Srila Bhakti Vasudeva Swami Maharaj, my spiritual master, who instructed me to go to preach to the professors, he was surprised by the progress, that we made with the professors. And so I published so much. But the thing is not just about publishing, it's using Vaishnava philosophy in providing solutions to, leadership, management, and social issues.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that he wanted me to do. And I was very much interested in, helping out with that in that area. And he also was very much pleased with my works. And he talked highly about my works, especially to other devotees when he goes to other countries and other cities.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit about this Georgia Political Science Association that brought you to the United States originally.
Yeah. So when I was in Nigeria preaching in the academy, I would go to different universities. Sometimes I would just pop into any university and talk to the head of department for religion, political science, or social studies, and But the point is that they see you on a queer, so to say, like a strange dress, and some with a tilak and all those things, and so sometimes, you really like. You like
a Martian.
They're trying to brush you aside. So I remember one time I went to one federal university. I was speaking to this elderly professor.
Where was this?
That was in Nigeria, University of Nsukka, one of the federal universities. And the professor, he looked at me and he just told me, we don't. He said, we don't do this here. He looked at my dress and he just said, we don't do this here. So I told him that, excuse me, sir, but I have over 20 publications in academic journals in 3 years. So he said, can I see some of those journals? So the next day, I brought 3 of my journals from highly reputed universities in Nigeria. And then I flipped through and showed my works to him. And you can't imagine what this guy who was, bluffing and brushing me aside, what he said. And after seeing the papers that are published in those journals, he said, when are you coming to give your talk?
So he changed his tune.
It's rare for someone to have 20 publications or more in just 3 years. If you publish one paper in 1 year, you have done a lot of job. And so, that was the weapon I was using to be able to have my way through. So then I got accepted to present my work at the Atlanta, Georgia Georgia Political Science Association here in the United States in 2004 in November. And so
evidently they must do this every year, because I saw this.
They do it every year.
Yeah, so this one, of course, says 2016, but you were in 2004.
I think Georgia, now they have it like, after every other year. Yeah. Either, but at that time, I think it was just every year. So I had this invitation to come to present my paper, and the title of my paper was Kleptomaniacs and Nigeria's Political Destiny.
That must have been an interesting topic. Tell us a little bit about kleptomania, or you were saying you call it kleptocracy.
Yeah, kleptocracy. Kleptocracy basically means government that is being operated by people who are like, they use their intelligence and their pen to siphon money from government coffers to their own personal purse. In other words, it's a government that is based on corrupt practices. You do everything possible to get what you can get from the government into your own personal purse. That is basically about kleptocracy. It's a government by the thieves, for the thieves, and that's it. So when I came to Georgia in 2004 for that presentation, presentation was well accepted by the professors. And then I went back. I stayed for about a month. And then at that time, I couldn't even meet my spiritual master. I couldn't even meet Sri Bhakti Vasudeva Swami Maharaj, because he was at Hawaii. And then he said that I should wait for him. I said, but I need to go back because I have some other, preaching engagements to be able to pursue, and I'm on schedule, because I thought that he was available at DC, but he wasn't there. So I went back to Nigeria, and then in 2005, in February, I came for 5 presentations, and that was within a very short span time frame. I came for 5 presentations. Again, I went.
And where was this? Georgia or somewhere else?
No, not Georgia. I was at North Carolina Political Science Association for a presentation on leadership, and then I also went to present the paper at the American Social Science Association, and that was taking place that year. That conference took place in Seattle. And then I also went to Las Vegas to make a presentation at the International Studies Association, East or West. And then I also went to University of Southern Mississippi for a presentation. And I made another presentation, and I made a presentation same period at the Pennsylvania Political Science Association, and also at the New York Political Science Association annual conferences. So I had like a marathon within that period.
What year was that?
That was 2004. I came in 2004 in February. And so I think that those programs are so congested. In 6 weeks, I was supposed to finish up those 5 programs. It's almost like every 10 days, I have to go for a conference.
And you were in a different city in America, and this was your first time in America?
Oh, no, that was my second time.
Second time?
Yeah, because I came in 2004 for a conference at Georgia. So that was my second time. So I remember vividly how before I came in with those, because I had to speak with my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Vasudeva Swami Maharaj, about the programs I was having. And he's somebody who likes doing academic programs. Mm-hmm. And so when I spoke with him on the phone, one of the things I remember he was really like pleasantly surprised about was, he asked me, Vasudev, but how did you get all these engagements? So I had to explain to him how, I got invited by this group and that group, and then other people who have seen my works, they got they invited me to send a proposition for their conference and all these things. So yeah, I explained all of that to him. But then the point is that he was very pleased with those type of works that he saw me doing, and then it really encouraged me very much to focus on that. And because of that, even when he left the planet, my focus has been mainly on preaching in the academy, because what happens is that we have the Christian movement based on the teachings of the Vedic literature. We have a lot to be able to give to the world to create a positive social change. And what is really lacking is people who have the talent management skills to be able to utilize what they have read, what Prophet has given to us, in trying to provide solutions to the global issues or global problems. So I see that as something that, Bhakti Vasudeva Swami instructed me to do. And he knew it's very challenging. And I know that it's very challenging, but someone has to do it anyway. So that's what I've been focusing on.
So you're talking about taking the Vedic literatures, particularly about the whole idea of consciousness, about how that relates to morality and social interactions, and applying that to the political science field.
Political science, leadership, management,
And so since that time, have you been spending more time in the U.S. or more time in Nigeria?
Or? When I came, and then afterwards I took sannyas, so I started traveling, and so later I became a citizen here. So I was basically utilizing my time traveling around. So I preach in Africa, in America, in India, and also in Europe.
In Europe, where in Europe?
Europe, Croatia, Switzerland, and London.
Mostly in academic circles? You work with schools?
When I go to these places, it's both sides, both places. I preach to devotees. I give regular classes in the temples.
Our regular temples?
Yeah, regular temples. And then also they arrange for me to speak to students, or I arrange myself to go to conferences to make presentations. Like even in London, I had a conference just recently at the London School of Economics. Of course, that very conference, I was not able to go. I was a little bit sick, so I deputed my secretary to go to do the presentation on my behalf.
And when was that?
That was 2011 or so.
Mm-hmm. So you've been applying the spiritual teachings of the Bhakti tradition, which of course is talking about how a person purifies their consciousness. They purify everything, whether it's political theater, or we're talking about morality, or whether we're talking about social interactions, or whatever we're talking about, it has the same effect. And you've been pushing that in the academic world and writing papers. And you have a website, as I understand it, and that's called Bhakti Vasudeva Swami.com. Is that correct?
Sure.
Did I get it right?
Yeah. And if you go to my website, you go to the publications, you see some of my, a summary of my listed works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Those are not all of them, just essential ones that are very much relevant to everyday reality. But my current research, has been basically on kleptocracy, and this year alone I have three publications in kleptocracy. Two of them are by the Journal of Financial Crime, and the other by the Journal of Money Laundering Control.
Very near and dear to everyone's heart.
These are accounting journals. These are
accounting journals.
These are accounting journals. So then you try to imagine how a Swami, he's going to all this type of stuff, going to publishing. But if you read my works, then you really be surprised that, wow, how this integration is really taking place is something. It's not my making. I'm just being used as an instrument in the hands of that little boy, that little blackish boy, Krishna. And sometimes I will get some works done, and I will just be amazed. I'll look at myself. I say, what? How did that come to be? My current work that was published in May, which is on legislative kleptocracy, I gave the story of Hiranyakasipu as one of the main causes, or the mindset, Hiranyakasipu mindset as one of the main causes of corporate corruption in the global village.
He's kind of like the epitome or the.
And I called it phenomenological mindset. Instead of calling it demoniac mindset, I called it phenomenological mindset. And the amazing thing is that these are, the peer-reviewed international journals, they're very critical. There's a board of professors who have to review your works. They will send your works to like 5 reviewers, experts in the field, before they'll come up with a verdict that your paper is accepted. Now, in all these 3 papers, that even a dot was not changed. Krishna's perfect arrangement.
Yeah. Well, the spiritual life has the way of purifying everything. So if an individual is purified, then a group can be purified. A group can be purified. A country can be purified. A country can be purified. The world can be purified. So the whole process of purifying individuals is there in spiritual life. Of course, people have to actually take the process and do something with it. So you're saying this is happening in the U.S. or it's happening worldwide or it's happening in Nigeria?
It's happening globally right now because academic journals like these journals, the current journals that I've been writing for, they are published by Emerald, which is one of the most reputed academic publishing house in London. So, scholars from all over the world, they download these papers. I would say just the one that was published in January, within a short span, we saw that the downloads of that paper, and keep in mind, when they download, they pay Emerald. The downloads of that paper within a couple of months was over 260 downloads. That is amazing because a paper could attract scholars for that rapid download. It means it really intrigued them. Yeah.
So these are scholars all over the world
that
are downloading, and these are people who are working in justice,
justice, crime, management,
political science, sociology, all these kind of fields. So it's very amazing, and I'm happy. We just have a few moments left, but let's talk about what you're doing now. How would you describe what your particular focus is at the present moment? What are you focusing
on? Particular focus right now, I'm in the U.S. now. So I just came from the West Coast. I was in Los Angeles, Laguna Beach, and Seattle, Portland, preaching, in the devotional community, in Bhakti, just preaching, interacting, meeting families, giving counseling on, parenting and, self-leadership, community leadership, etc. So that's what I've been doing right here in the U.S.
So,
and I just came also from Britain.
I wish we could spend some more time. I always have trouble trying to keep the time down. So thank you all very much for tuning into this. We will have more discussions. And this is Vedic Culture and Knowledge, the knowledge of the Vedas and the culture associated with it. Thank you very much.